What is going on, Trey? Good evening. We are on the verge of another Sunday night football game featuring the Chiefs rematch of Super Bowl one against the Pack out there in Lambeau. It's going to be, I don't know, probably going to be a cold one. Probably going to be a little, maybe snowy out there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So I actually, the way I see Lambeau in Green Bay is it snows year round up there. So it's just cold as shit all the time, and it's always snowing. So every time you look at a game up there, it's snowing or the wind's blowing 15 miles per hour or whatever. So yeah, it's
That's
gonna
why
be
you
a
got
cold one.
those.
Buddy Brett Bass is gonna be up there at the game. So I hope he packed. He's probably gonna look like a marshmallow man with all the shit he's gonna be wearing. So I don't blame him.
Michelin man walking around. Shout out to my buddy Mikey Herr, who's going to be up there as well. He hit me up earlier this week. Was like, "Hey Dan, you know anyone that's interested in two Chiefs tickets for the Packers game?" I was like, "What the hell, man?" Yeah, let me ask around. I doubt it though.
Yeah. That'd been cool. We could
Anyone
have went up
interested
there real quick.
in doing a weekend Lambo trip? I would if I could, man. Shit.
Yeah, same here. Take Monday off and buzz up there Sunday morning, buzz back Monday morning.
No kidding. With the
Seems
quickness.
doable now.
Yep. Well, let's bust it into some Chiefs news, talk about some things going on in the headlines. Obviously, this is brought to you by Better Homes and your wife, Katie Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely. So Katie is serving the Kansas City area as a realtor. If you were looking to buy, sell, build your dream home, Katie is going to be able to take care of all of the nasty in between gray stuff that you don't want to handle as a buyer or a seller. So she's going to do all that for you and make sure you get in the best home that you're trying to get in or get the best value out of the home you're trying to get rid of. So get a hold of Katie at 816-868-1920 is her phone number, or you can get a hold of email that's listed here if you're watching the YouTube show. So Dan, kick us off.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Tyreek Hill, we'll start it here. Tyreek Hill made an appearance on RG3's podcast and had an interesting quote about his time here in Kansas City and said he was, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not going to do the exact quote, but essentially the summary is that he was a little bit jealous of the relationship that Mahomes and Kelsey had. Went as far as to say, I've never been anyone's side chick until I was in Kansas City. And that's ultimately, it played into why he's now with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, he was always the third wheel in that duo for sure. I think if anyone else would agree with what he's saying, right? And I don't think it's wrong to feel that way, right? Maybe you wanted to be included more in some stuff off the field, and I don't know. That's unfortunately doesn't always happen. But where I drew the line was when he tried to slander Joe's Barbecue. He said Pat
Oh,
took
I
me
didn't
to
hear that part.
Joe's. He said Pat took me to Joe's, but I wanted to go to the fancy restaurants where him and Kels were. And that's where I draw the line. Don't talk shit
Yeah.
about Joe's KC Barbecue, okay? If Pat is treating you to a
Yeah.
Z-Man, then you are literally getting the finest food in Kansas City.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like if I'm taking one of my good friends and like, hey, I'm gonna take you out tonight. I'm not
Right.
taking you to like the fanciest restaurant, right? I'm taking you to the grittiest, the sloppiest, big old brisket sandwich you can get because that's what we enjoy. So,
We're in
yeah, I
Kansas
mean,
City,
I guess
dude.
he doesn't appreciate it enough. He doesn't appreciate it enough, but that's okay. He's been talking a lot of shit, man, since he left, and that's fine. You know, you can keep talking that shit, and we'll look at you through the rings. That's okay.
Well, I think this is going to be the trajectory. He obviously wants to be back here, or else I don't think he would say anything about it. But, definitely I draw the line of barbecue slander and Chief slander. I mean, those are the two topics, non-family related, that I would get upset about or like die on a hill about. So just don't do it
Good to
anymore,
know.
Tyreek. Please, Cheetah.
Good to
Another
know.
bit of
Good to
news
know.
for our game was going to be a primetime game, Monday Night Football against the Patriots. That gets flexed out to Sunday at noon on the 17th of December. So the first Monday Night Football in NFL history to be flexed out of its slot Why this was a Monday Night Football game to begin with is beyond me. I think there's a lot of other marquee matchups they could have thrown up there. Obviously, you're going to get eyes on the marquee matchups regardless. Maybe they're trying to drum up some more interest in this game, but obviously, the Patriots being what they are, had to give it the boot.
Yep, yep, and probably rightfully so. And it works out for you and I well because we're going to be doing a live show at the Atlas for that game, and instead of doing that on Monday night, right after work, you and I can enjoy the day Sunday morning and go down to the Atlas and do a live show down at the Atlas. So looking forward to
Yeah.
that now.
That
I
was going to
was
be
anyway. So
a very stressful day for me. Get off work at
yeah, head
5,
to toe for sure.
haul ass 40 minutes north because I'm going to be hitting that traffic
Yeah.
leaving downtown.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So Goodell,
Yeah.
Roger Goodell finally doing something for the people.
Yeah. Yeah. You thought about me for once.
Finally. Um, you know, I don't know if you want to talk about this or not in depth, and we don't have to get too crazy about it, but I do want to say to the kid that wore the headdress and the face paint at the Raiders game, I mean, I don't think he meant anything ill by it, right? People who are a part of that culture obviously have a right to be offended in those situations. If someone else is utilizing it I mean, and we've seen what happens with Washington and in Cleveland with the name changes on those franchises. But I think there were certain aspects of it that were misunderstood as far as, what the kid was trying to. I mean, the kid's 9 years old. So for people to jump all over him, I think was a little bit rough.
Yeah. And yeah, to kind of beat around the bush a little bit here, not dive
Yeah,
too
I try to
deep.
keep a high
I
level
think
here on this stuff.
yeah, so this was obviously, zoomed in to specifically how it wanted to be portrayed by Deadspin when the article was written. And as far as the culture, or the ethnicity or whatever, however you want to categorize that, the kid is a part, or he's maybe not a part of a tribe, but he's a descendant of a tribe. And so at that point, it's kind of his choice on how he wants to go about his business. And his family defended him, and I'm fully behind the kid. And there was a lot of talk about not being able to wear the headdress in Arrowhead. We weren't in
Which
Arrowhead,
is
so
true.
that's not a factor. So
Right.
you can drop that one as well. So I think a lot of times we kind of focus on things that maybe don't need focused on, or try to bring negative attention to something, to a 9-year-old kid that's having fun at a football game, right? And so hopefully that's not the experience that he thinks about when he goes to football games for the rest of his life,
That's
right? Because going
that's
to
my biggest
games are
fear
a big
for him.
deal. And I had so many great memories as a kid going with my dad, or going to watch the Oklahoma, Mizzou Big 12 championship at Arrowhead, and all these different games. And I built those on great experiences. And this kid's had a negative one, so it's unfortunate. And
Yeah.
from it sounds like from me, he's going to continue to go, and his family's pretty supportive of the situation. They're going to come out fine. I'm not too worried
Yeah.
about that, but that's kind of a buzzkill that the focus was on a 9-year-old kid, when it obviously should not have been.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's definitely unfortunate. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw that clip, was that, okay, I mean, this kid is obviously very young, understanding that this is going to be, it's going to leave a large impression on him for a long time, is
Yeah,
unfortunate. So, you know, it seems like, they put a video out and kind of address the situation. So, we'll leave listeners to kind of go and formulate their own opinions and use the information that's available on the situation, everything else. So, going to keep it neutral here. You want to talk to me off pod, talk to Trey off pod, we can talk to you a little more depth on that. But definitely feel for the
yeah,
kid, and hopefully, it doesn't impact his opinion of the game and how you can enjoy those moments at a football stadium, you know Don't let anyone take that joy from you, for sure. We'll move it in the AFC Landscape, presented by E Coffee. So KC Local Coffee Company, man, just like Casey Joe's local barbecue company, we're going to support KC Coffee as well, and it starts with E instead of A. So www.eeroastcoffee.com is where you can find their website, get your stocking stuffers, your espresso for Christmas morning. Anyone that's out there cooking breakfast for the family on Christmas morning, you'd be a fool not to serve up a pot of e-coffee. So www.eeroastcoffee.com. Key matchup this week, not a lot. So really, I want to shift this segment into kind of a broader look at what the rest of the AFC is going to look like moving down the pipe. We'll just give it a very high level here. Over the next, it's week 13 through 18, there's a handful of very impactful matchups. This week, Denver and Houston is going to play a lot into the wild card picture. Next week, you've got a couple matchups with Buffalo and Kansas City, of course. Denver and LA kind of determining what the rest of the AFC West is going to look like. And then just moving through the line, a lot of these matchups are featuring, Buffalo, Miami, Jacksonville, Kansas City, and Baltimore, where the playoff picture is going to be painted to its fullest, right? One seed or not, right? Wild card or not, division champ or not. All of that is going to be decided over these next, 5 total weeks. So a lot of matchups here. Any of these matchups, I know on the show sheet, you guys can't see it listening, of course, or watching if you're on YouTube. But Trey, any of these matchups stick out to you just kind of looking at everything we have laid out?
Yeah, so the way I kind of take a look at December and now early January with the season being extended is that I want to see the matchups to where we could potentially see this person in January, or Buffalo is playing Baltimore. It's almost like the preseason to the postseason, right? So what kind of matchups are we going to see? If Baltimore lands the 2 and Denver ends up pulling out the 7, I want to see that matchup. I don't know if they play each other. I'm just looking at the schedule here, but Pittsburgh, Baltimore is another one. They could potentially be playing each other in the playoffs, right? So I'm not looking for really a crossover from AFC to NFC. I'm really sticking by the conference, and specifically AFC for me. I'm not too worried about how the NFC shakes out, but I want to see how teams are going to match up with each other, because that's going to kind of give a vibe on how I think the postseason is going to roll, right? So who I think we're going to see in the divisional round, because we're going to lock in that one, and who I think is going to make the upset, who may be the dark horse going into the playoffs. And honestly, not that it matters at all, because I play zero impact to how the Chiefs perform in January and February. But I have a piece of the pie, right? Like I want to be able to play my part and come in and be able to scream at my TV as loud as I can and ask Andy why he's throwing the ball at 31, right? So that's my part. That's what I'm looking for in December. The preseason to the postseason, baby.
Definitely. I think the biggest takeaway for me is just kind of looking at the roads for each of these teams. And the thing I want to, bring up for everybody else before we move into Chiefs and Eagles, or Chiefs and Eagles. I'm living in the past here. Chiefs and Packers, is that we have the easiest road by far out of the remaining teams here in the AFC. The Dolphins, they play some NFC contenders like the Niners and the Cowboys, I think, are on their schedule. You've got the Ravens who face the Niners as well. And then they're all clashing against each other, matchups that we've kind of gotten out of the way. So after Buffalo, it really lightens up for us. And by week 18, we play the Chargers, which is a competent team sometimes. But, we'll see. We'll see kind of how that plays out. I think our road to the playoffs, much easier than these other teams.
No, agreed 100%. It's kind of nice here also, is we have an opportunity to kind of shape things up as far as the offense, for instance. We just had a good game, but we have another opportunity throughout the next couple of weeks to not play top talent and
Yeah.
be able to figure those small kinks out. Other than Buffalo, I guarantee you is going to come in and play us incredibly well.
They're going to play their
And
ass off.
I think we have to. Oh yeah, we have to be prepared for that. So outside of everybody
Absolutely.
else, it's a really good opportunity. While everybody else is beating each other up, the San Fran Baltimore game, they're going to beat the shit out of each other, right? So Kansas City's got an opportunity with a couple division matchups outside of everybody else, where we can almost, I don't want to say take it easy, but not play 110% every single snap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's any advantage we can get at this point. You got to keep the team healthy and take advantage of those advantages.
Yeah.
So, Chiefs and Packers Sunday Night Football injury report. We'll kind of just jump into it real quick. Jerick McKinnon's practicing again. Nick Bolton limited this week, so should be coming off of the injured reserve. Relatively healthy for the Chiefs, man. That's been the difference maker. The battle of attrition has been playing in our favor. I'm knocking on everything here, but that's been the case for us. So very beneficial.
Yeah,
The
not
Packers, on the other hand, they're going through it right now. Aaron Jones and Jaden Reed did not participate at all this week thus far. Aaron Jones dealing with that MCL strain, so not likely to see him for I think this would be the third game in a row. AJ Dillon also limited. He did have some groin issues last week that kind of kept him limited going into last Sunday, but he ended up playing. Jair Alexander, their star cornerback, missed a couple of games. He's been practicing in a limited fashion. And then a couple other members of their defense that play a key role. Kenny Clark at defensive tackle, Rashawn Gary at edge rusher, and Devondre Campbell, their middle linebacker, all limited as well the entire week. So those are some big names. Now they are potentially getting Darnell Savage back, their safety. He was a full participant, although he's still technically on the IR. The fact that he's practicing in full, it's likely to see him get activated. But the Packers, man, they're dealing with some injury issues.
Yep, beat up there. And I can't tell you, I mean, we've talked about it how many times so far this year, Dan. The good teams healthy, the bad teams, they get beat up. So it's important to stay healthy, man. And it's also important to stay healthy in your gambling game. So I'm going to bring us right in with the best bets here. Bringing this in with the Atlas, though.
Your transitions are sick, dude. I love it.
The Atlas Saloon, downtown Excelsior Springs. So the Atlas has 10 beers on taps on tap. They don't tap dance in there. And so they're doing all German style beers. And what Keith has done down there and in brewing beer since 2018 is really kind of create a culture in Excelsior Springs with the help of some others, and where we have a couple breweries in town now, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of events downtown now, and they kind of circle around the Atlas, and they've brought in a lot of fun and do a really good job. And they have events downtown at the Atlas every week from Wednesday to Saturday night, whether it's a free pool or it's open mic night or whatever it may be. There's a lot of stuff going on down there. And Thursday's a special one to Dan and I. It's you wear an Atlas shirt, you get your first beer is free. So that's a key one. But make sure you head on down to the Atlas and let them know the Fastest 40 sent you, and enjoy some time down there. Enjoy some beers. They do a good job and they're good company. So
Yeah, they
Dan,
do.
as we sit right now on best bets is as of right now, Kansas City is favored -6 over Anderson at 42.5. 42.5 seems a little shallow for me after what the offense did last week. I expected Vegas to start getting a vibe like, hey, Chiefs might be back. Let's jump this up this week. But they might be waiting to see if we can get a consistent 2 or 3 weeks to really bounce that up. But 42.5, I'm dancing all over that over on this one this weekend. Although it'd
No,
be
I
cold.
agree.
It'd be cold.
It will be cold, and I agree. I think the total is a little low, like 44, 45 seems a little more reasonable for me, so I would go for the over here. I think it's strictly because of the offensive weapons the Packers are missing that these numbers are as big as they are. Um, the
Sure.
Chiefs are favored by 6 points, so I can run through a couple of stats how you can approach that number, that spread number. Lions, they're coming off of a victory as an 8.5 point road dog against the Packers are doing that against the Lions. So that's something to consider, is that their offense was starting to click a little bit. Not having Aaron Jones out there may hurt. Not having Luke Musgraves may hurt as well. But they were able to get it done in a hostile environment, and now they're hosting. Chiefs, they also secured a 9-point favorite win last week against the Raiders on the road. So we're just going right back out on the road. We're 7-4 against the spread this season so far, and in games we're favored by 5.5 or more, we're 4-2. So that plays in favor a little bit. Not too often that we've been favored by more than 5.5. I think the Chargers was the ground floor there. Bears, we smashed that one. The Raiders last week being a couple others off the top of my head. And then finally, the Packers, underdogs in 9. Oops, that was a... Yep, the Packers were underdogs in several of their games this year and really just have not been covering a ton. Even in a pick 'em, they weren't able to get it done there. So I like the Chiefs to cover this one, even though they're on the road. What we saw from the offense boasts well for us going into that game. Winning by a touchdown just seems so achievable. And if you're going to play, so who's your buddy that does the field goal plays?
Laredo,
man. If you're going to play a field goal this week, this is the week to do it. Harrison Butker has been perfect up to this point, and it's been talked about a ton. It's kind of like some superstition in me is upset that I said anything about it, because it's like calling out a no-hitter in the 8th or the 9th inning. But that's where Butker's at. So he's been nails, and you got to put your money where the trends are. So that's my tidbit. I'm taking the Chiefs to cover in the over.
Agreed. And I like these. Actually, now that you said that, I wasn't even thinking about -6 because I was so focused on 42.5. But -6 is kind of a no-brainer for me. I see us taking this game by at least a touchdown and an extra point. That's a no-brainer for me as well. And I think where I'm sitting on this situation now is lump these up in a parlay and maybe throw in like a Rashee Rice over 65 or whatever he's sitting at for receiving yards or something like that, because I think Rashee Rice keeps it going this weekend as well. But just to bounce into a little bit of game news here, Dan, and talk about the game a little bit and the history of the Packers-Chiefs matchup here. How long have we been kind of dancing back and forth, the last several years, waiting on a Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers matchup? And my man leaves up to New York this year, and now we don't get the matchup we've been waiting for between these guys, man. And I think the world deserves it. I think Kansas City deserves it, and I'd love to see it. And with all the news with Aaron Rodgers coming out with him practicing after 79 days of tearing his 79 days ago, he tore his ACL or his
Achilles,
yeah, and he's already back practicing, which is absolutely crazy. And whether it's real or not, I don't know. But if they somehow strung some wins together, made it to the 7th seed, put together a win, came to Kansas City, Aaron Rodgers at Patrick Mahomes, divisional round, I mean, there's got to be at least a 2.5% chance, 0.02% chance is what I'm going with.
0.02. I love that hypothetical number. I think, it just seems like Murphy's Law is coming to play every single time that we've had a Packers and Chiefs matchup or a Rodgers and Mahomes matchup. It's Aaron Rodgers got traded, so now you're not going to get to play against him in this game. Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, so you're not going to get to play against him in this game. Aaron Rodgers got COVID, so now you're not going to get to play against him here. Patrick Mahomes' knee fell out of his leg on a QB sneak, so now you're not going to get to play them here. So it's like the only thing that's left is my dog ate my plane ticket and XYZ QB couldn't make it to the game. Like, it's been ridiculous. So, every excuse is played through the book, and it's confirmed that we're not going to
Yeah.
get that matchup. I do want to focus on the Jordan Love matchup, though, because I'm wondering if Lambeau is going to treat him better than Arrowhead did and get his family some decent tickets. Because if you remember when they came to Arrowhead, the poor people were sitting on the very top point of the stadium and getting
Yeah.
hounded at by Chiefs
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah, I mean, we're good for it, you know. We're not mean about it, but we let you know about it. You know, you definitely hear it, and it's something I appreciate. I really do. Uh, yeah, I mean, talking about Lambo though, how about a more? I mean, that it would be if I was a football player, if I was in the NFL, that would be like one of the places I would want to check off the list and play at, right?
Oh
And for
yeah.
a fan, for me, that's like one of the places I want to go and check that off the list, right? And that was a conversation last year. So you and I and other guys go to a away game every year. And after the away game last year, we all talked, sat around, looked at the schedule this May, and said Green Bay. And that was, we all kind of thought we knew we were playing Green Bay and we were hoping it was away. And Aaron Rodgers gets traded. And so we kind of erased that one off the whiteboard and moved on. And now we're going to
Back to the
LA. But
drawing board.
yeah. Back to square one. Yeah. So, I mean, the cool place, man. A lot of history in Lambeau or at Lambeau. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting up there one day. But I'm excited to at least watch, see the Chiefs do a couple Lambeau leaps and make it happen.
A lot of history there, a lot of history between the two teams. Obviously, the first Super Bowl was played between these two. The Chiefs back in like 2012 ended their hopes of having an undefeated season. We were their one loss on the year. All of the Mahomes and Rodgers comparisons, and then the Mahomes and Rodgers missed matchups. I mean, there's just a ton that's happened between these teams. So love seeing the matchup. Let's talk about the hypotheticals that the Packers would have to do to get a dub. So Jordan Love, he's been playing a lot better as of late. He had kind of a sophomoric type of slump in the middle of his season this year, but he's bounced back a
Yep.
little bit. A lot of it's thanks to some of his talent around him playing better. AJ Dillon, in the absence of Aaron Jones, was able to get things going. Jaden Reed, the rookie receiver that he has there, has been playing really well. Christian Watson's been playing a little bit better here and there. Romeo Dobbs has been reliable. So a lot of that's been helping, but he's going to be without Jaden Reed and Aaron Jones most likely. I'd put a probably 95% chance they both do not play this game. So for them to win, they're going to have to get offense going without those two targets and get AJ Dillon to do similar work to what he did last week. They actually released James Robinson as well coming into this game. So they feel pretty comfortable with AJ Dillon and Patrick Taylor back there. They're going to need those two guys to play well. They're also going to need to, on the defensive side
Yeah.
of things,
Yeah. Yep.
take care of Kelsey and make sure that the other receivers, not named Rashee Rice, don't beat him deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back to your point about the offense, you know, if it'll be important for them to continue on with the success that they've had as of late, whether it's been a win or a loss, right? We've seen a better Packers team in the last few weeks than we did in the first, I don't know, let's say 8 weeks or 7 weeks of the season. And if they can continue that, that's going to give themselves that much better a shot, right? And I think outside of that is going to be being able to capitalize. So depending on who's running the ball, depending on injuries for the Green Bay Packers, if they can capitalize and beat up that front seven of the Chiefs and take advantage of being able to find some gaps in that offense, kind of like the Raiders did early on, or in that defense, kind of like the Raiders did early on last week when we saw in the first two possessions of the Raiders. I mean, they ran the ball damn well, right? So if the Packers can figure out a way to do that, and then establish a pass game after that, then I think that gives themselves a chance there. So, with
Yep.
that, moving on to the keys of victory for the Chiefs, what are those factors that's going to put us ahead and put us one more step to securing that one seed?
Yeah, I think the big thing is penalties. I mean, we've been one of the more penalized teams in the NFL, if not the most, despite what X thinks about that. Um, the facts are the facts. We get the most penalties called on us. So if the Packers are able to capitalize that, they're going to go far. So the Chiefs have to limit that from being the case, especially the ones that stall drives out. The 1st and 10 false starts, the 1st and 10 holding penalties, the 3rd and short false starts or holding penalties. Those kinds of things can kill your drive. If you lose yardage on 1st down, getting a penalty on 2nd down, we seem to dig ourselves into a hole like that at least once or twice a game. At least that's the way I feel. So if we can limit that as much as possible, that's going to be a huge piece to our success. And then also on the offensive side of the ball, it's continuing Rashee Rice's momentum. We saw a little bit of a breakout. We need to continue to bust that ceiling open and keep his potential going up and up and up and build that chemistry between him and Mahomes. And if we can do that while maintaining Kelsey's level of production, which he's on pace for over 1,200 yards, over 100 catches, and just shy of 10 touchdowns, we'll be golden. We'll be golden the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Looking forward to that. I want to keep that guy healthy. I want to keep him moving strong into the season or throughout the season. I want to finish strong this season. I think that's a big deal for the Chiefs. At a big umbrella picture, I think Travis Kelce being healthy and being productive is a big deal for us.
Absolutely. Then one other thing too, it's Pacheco, man. Maintaining his work in the red zone. Let that guy eat. Let that guy get carries inside the 5 because he's proven time and again that he can get it done. Don't always do it from the shotgun, but let the guy get some play down there.
Yeah, absolutely. The run game is so crucial, man, and we got to continue that success. And just talking about the run game a little bit, and then we can wrap this up here, Dan. Trey Smith is the 2nd highest graded PFF guard in the league as far as run blocking. So I think if we continue to see that success up front, obviously you and I have talked about the interior offensive line that we have in Kansas City is the best in the league by far. Nobody compares to those guys. And I think we have to take advantage of that and really crush the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love hearing stats like that from the OL. I love that you're giving love to the offensive linemen, man. They need love too. So appreciate that, brother. Anything else before we get into this weekend, man? I'm excited for some football tonight. We got Cowboys Seahawks, should be a decent Thursday night game. Not something that you can say too often. But man, I'm ready for week 13.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really looking to dive into some games this weekend, and kind of start that first preseason game of the postseason, right? And kind of get an idea of what we're looking at, and it's always exciting to see the postseason shake out the last few weeks, and I'm looking forward to that. And another game in Green Bay, baby, let's go get it.
Let's get them. Let's get them next week. We'll recap Green Bay, and then we'll get everybody ready for the Buffalo Bills. That's what the forecast is going to look like next week. I'm excited. Until then, go Chiefs, baby.
Peace.
Peace.